Perfect.
All right. Thank you, team. We'll open up with a statement here. We meet today on settled indigenous land, which is traditional territory of the Chinookan peoples of the Wasco, Wishram, Warm Springs, and Grand Ronde tribes. Let us honor this land as traditional native stewards, past, present, and future, and strive today to embody a commitment to cultural equity and reconciliation, ecological conservation, and sustainability. I hereby call this meeting to order at 4:01 p.m. Tia, can you do a roll call, please?
Yeah, Greg, Chair.
I'm right here.
Megan Ramey, Vice Chair. Here. Megan Larrabee. She was here, right?
She was here.
Okay. Isella. Elazar. Tamara. Here. And Matt.
Here.
Thank you. Is she?
Awesome. Thank you, Tia. Yeah, Megan's back now.
Perfect. Megan, I was just doing roll call. Megan Larrabee.
Here.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Tia. Agenda item number 3 is approval of our December 20th minutes. The minutes were provided to the board. Is there any changes that anybody would like to make? Not hearing any. I'd entertain a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Okay, so moved. Was that Tamara?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Tamara. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, any further discussion on the minutes? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, chair votes aye. Minutes are approved from the December 20th meeting. All right, now we're open to any public comment. I don't see any public comment online. Are there any at CAT? Not seeing any in the room. Okay. From there, we'll move on to agenda item number 5, which is the quarterly financial report. Emily, do you want to take it from here?
For sure. Hi, everyone. It was just a month ago that you saw me, and now I'm back again. I just wanted to further provide a comparison. So hopefully you saw that in the board packet that I did 2 different sets of financials just so you'd have a better opportunity to see what one versus the other would include. And these are equally easy to run out of your accounting software. So, and then in my summary sheet, contrast the differences by like highlighting gray the areas that were different on the cash basis compared to the report that you typically get, which is sort of a modified accrual basis. So I'm just going to run through the report and talk about the discussion on the modified accrual basis, which is the basis you have been getting your reports on. And then I'll just like comment on the pieces that are different on the cash basis. And then at that time, if you have any questions or anything, I'd be happy to run through any other issues that you might have or questions about why they are different. So to start, I will be going mostly off of the modified accrual basis of accounting. And so starting with your balance sheet, it looks like you guys had total available cash at the end of December, about 1.15 million, which is a little less than last year, but still fairly consistent. Your accounts receivable was still about $91,000. On the cash basis, you will note that there's no accounts receivable because cash basis doesn't have any accruals. So it's more than last year. The largest outstanding is a pledge from the U.S. Forest Service, which is still outstanding from our discussion from last month, but I believe they're working on paying that. Your accounts payable was about $17,000, and that's less than last year. And the largest is amount due for VALIC and then some for the MCED bill for shared costs. But I think we were waiting on a final bill to be able to actually pay that. Credit card liabilities was about 4.4 thousand. And then your total fund balance was 1.2 million. On a cash basis, it was 1.15 million. So you can see they're different, but not drastically so. And moving on to your statement of activity, total revenue through the end of December, the first 6 months of the year, was 1.4 million. On a cash basis, it's about $100,000 less than that, at about 1.3 million. And that's a little less than last year. Cost of goods sold is looking really good overall compared to your budget. You're under budget, and you're also under the prior year, which is fantastic. So the total costs that make up your cost of goods sold are vehicle expenses. Your vehicle janitorial expense for July through December was just under $4,000. Your fuel is also super under budget, which is great. I know we were expecting with really high fuel prices, this summer and through last winter, that those would be continued, and thankfully they haven't been. So wonderfully, we're under budget on fuel. Our operating expenses are also under budget. And it looks like the largest thing, and we're also under last year too. So that's great. Most of those are preventative maintenance and repairs, obviously. Communication expense is also under budget. Total was about $28,000. Vehicle insurance, again, doesn't get recorded until it's paid at the end of the year. So that's not showing up yet. Our driver expenses are about $4,000. Advertising and marketing is about 11.5 thousand, and grants and contribution match funds was $80,000. So that brings your total gross profit through the first 6 months of the year to about $1.1 million. And on a cash basis, it was just about $1 million. So again, a difference of about $100,000. Your administrative expenses are still over the 6 month budget, but again, there's that large payment that was made for the HVAC replacement. And so that will continue to look over budget, but it's a one-time thing. So hopefully we'll be under budget overall at the end. Your personnel expenses are also under budget and under last year, which is pretty awesome. So you were about $750,000 total personnel expense through the first 6 months of the year. And your capital outlay is very small. So it's only been about $2,000 for the year for our bike rack. So again, most of the capital outlay isn't expected to happen until the last half of the year. So your total net income for this year on a modified accrual basis was $234,000. On a cash basis was $156,000. So again, that's $38,000 more than last year, and a little less than your total budget, but that's to be expected with the amounts that are expected for the last half of the year. So if you compare the financial statements, probably the balance sheet is going to show the biggest difference. If you look at it's titled the statement of financial position comparison. If you look at that on the cash basis versus the modified accrual basis, you can see that there's some accounts that show up on the modified accrual basis, but that don't show up on the cash basis, primarily being accounts receivable and accounts payable. And that those two accounts not being accounted for until those monies are actually paid on the cash basis is why your income and expense are different between those two bases of accounting. But overall, the district's looking to be in a really good position. And I think everything's going swimmingly. Does anyone have any questions on what I've covered so far?
Emily, I don't know that it's a question for you. It may be for Amy and the team, but there are two things that kind of stood out to me. One, the funds from the state seems to be kind of a big gap there between this year and last and budget. Do we have an answer of why that is?
Just to clarify, are you looking at the cash basis or the modified or just both?
I was looking at the cash basis before. I have to get there again. I looked at it prior to the meeting.
If I understand right, it's because the cash basis shows the funds when they're received, where last year it was on the accrual basis. And so we were accruing for those expenses instead of addressing them at the time they were received.
Okay.
And so we haven't received the Q3 or Q2, I'm sorry.
Actually, no,
Q2.
Q1. We haven't
Q1,
received
sorry, the
yet.
Q1 we haven't received yet. So it's not showing where last year it was in there.
And just to
Was the
clarify,
time, well, the budget was on a cash basis, so correct? We adjusted the budget for a cash basis. So it's just a timing issue of not receiving the funds from the state, on the revenue side, 4,700, the
year.
account number.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay,
We haven't received the funds yet.
okay. And then my other one has to do with fair revenue, and I know we're below budget. By, $8,000 for this quarter. But it seems like when I've looked at all of our ridership numbers are up. If I look year over year in December, they're up. I didn't go back and look for the first half of the year on ridership. But maybe it's for next meeting if we see a breakdown of fair revenue to see, why we're tracking behind or did we budget differently for a number of riders? So I'm not expecting you to whip this off the top of your head, but I think next meeting we should probably look at that.
yeah, I think let's definitely do that. We'll dive in.
Okay.
And have a response for that.
I have a question. So I'm looking at the statement of activity comparison and it just says July through December of 2023. And that's where I was thinking that we were talking about the state funds, but it's like July to December of 2023 is 318,000. And then July, December 2022, it's 641,000. And why is that so different? Because that wouldn't take into account Q1 or how does that?
So last year it would have taken in the Q1 and Q2.
It just says July through December.
Yeah, so our Q1 is July 1st through September 31st, and then Q2 is October 1st through December 31st.
Okay, so but it's the same, they're comparing the same time frame for both years. So why is it off? Why is there a 50% difference?
The 2022, that is including the accrual for all of those reimbursements. And the 2023, it's just what we've received so far. And since we have not received some of those grant funds, that's why.
Okay, now that makes more sense. Thanks.
And they are in process. We just not as of December 31st.
I'm going to jump on and just I'm just going to verify when those funds were received in the last year so that we can see a comparison. So I'll take a look into that and get back to you in just a minute.
Have they given us any date on where that's going or how that's going?
Yeah, Hobie actually just sent me an update for the Q1 grant reimbursements. Those have been processed and I didn't get a chance to check today if it's been received in our bank account, but we should get it in the next couple of days.
Okay.
And then Q2, Tia is working on the grant reimbursements right now. Those are due February 14th, I believe, either 13th or 14th. So those will be completed and it'll take about a month for us to get those.
Okay.
What was the HVAC replacement? Maybe I
You
misheard
mean
it.
the HVAC?
Yes.
HVAC?
Okay, now I know what that is. Yes.
So there,
I
you
know-
might see
yes.
if you're in the room, there's a big hole in the ceiling. This is the project that's been, well, it's been in the works. We've
Since I
wanted to
was
do
been
it.
on the board.
Yeah, exactly. And we have finally moved forward. They are here actively working on it. And it should be completed by Friday.
Wow.
Yes.
That's gonna be pretty crazy.
Okay. Any other questions for Emily? Thank you. Great to see you. We thought we'd see you quarterly, but
Well, I think so. That's the other thing. So the plan is, it seems like it would be a better use of financial data for me to report on a quarterly basis with the month following the end of the quarter. So from now on, the plan is that I will present in like July for the full year, October for the first 3 months of the year, so on. So you will see me every 3 months, I think, from here on, but we just thought it was a chance to move us to a full every a genuinely quarterly report instead of 2 months, 5 months.
We appreciate you being here. Well, we still have one more thing for you, and that's the report format on
Yes.
discussion item number 6. Did any of the board have any comment or preference on which version to use? Or Emily, did you need to explain anything to the board prior to that?
No, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. The difference is just whether you're showing the accruals for revenue that you've billed but haven't received yet, or bills you've received but haven't paid yet. That's on the accrual basis, and those monies are not included on the cash basis since money hasn't actually changed hands yet.
I want to make this clear. You're asking if we want to see the accrued cash but not received versus what we've actually received.
Correct. Yeah, whether the reports are more useful for you as a board to be on the modified accrual basis or cash basis.
I'm gonna just show it visually to you all, but for those who are joining remotely, so you guys received 2 of the reports, one that's on the cash basis and one modified accrual basis. As Emily has already kind of discussed, in the different statement of financial position and statement of cash flows, it's all the same line items, it's just different data. So you're gonna see a little bit of difference of the numbers. But where the change really happens is at the very end, you'll see the AR aging summary and the AP aging summary. So I think it really boils down, the question is, do you need to see some of those, when you're looking at the numbers, the data, is it more important to you to see the true numbers? Or would you like to see what we're expecting? And then the second question is, do you find the AR aging summary and the AP aging summary helpful to understand the district's financial status? Does that help?
It does, and I vote that we show actuals, and I'm just past experience, very leery of pie in the sky we wish we're going to get, because that is something that could change. But if we show actuals and manage off of actuals, I feel that we're giving true stories here.
So one question I had for Emily, if the board decided that they wanted to get the cash basis reports, could we add in your memo saying, hey, we're expecting to get REI, the Forest Service, and we've got a little bit of dollars that we're waiting on from CAP. Can we put something like that in there?
So
And then cash basis for the.
I mean, then you're essentially doing the accrual base. So here's the difference. So I think I'm sorry. What's your name? That was asking the question. Sorry, Tamara. I think it sounds like you're concerned about the estimations that are typically part of accruals. Is that true?
No, it inflates what is actual available to be spent. And that's where I'm not comfortable. I do want to know what we are waiting for to come in and have that show differently. But I feel if we have that in as part of, just accrual, it can be inflated on what we actually have. And I'm just not comfortable with that.
So
but
if you compare the reports,
the whole board that makes the decision. So
if you compare the reports just for what you actually have to spend on the cash basis versus the modified accrual basis, if you look at the cash balance in the bank, they tie perfectly. So it doesn't change your cash balance shown that you have available to spend. All it does is it also reports the amounts that you expect to be receiving in addition to that, and the amounts you expect to be due in addition to that. So bills that are outstanding. And that's the part where I think the modified accrual basis can be helpful, because if you have a straight cash basis, you also could be unaware of a big bill that's been received that hasn't been paid yet. So you don't you don't really have that cash fully available. Does that make sense? Like that money should be earmarked for a bill that you've received but hasn't been paid. Does that answer your
Generally, you would
question?
also show the AR, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah,
They're
so
both on the,
we'd be able to see it there and
correct.
our AP as well. So I do agree too. I think cash basis is fine as long as we're seeing those two other things. And it'll clean itself up in a year, right? I mean, next year, won't we be looking at cash on cash year over year where it won't be so hard to
No,
dis?
so your board, so sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's all right.
We're-
Go ahead.
Your financial reports are gonna always be on the modified cash basis of accounting. So we're just talking about the board reports that you receive when you have your meeting every, well, that tier provides you each month or whatever, and then that I go over with you each quarter. So that's the only format. So year over year, they're going to be comparative because we've already been doing that for a year now. Like
Okay.
fiscal year 23 was the first year you changed. So we do have a year to year comparison that's accurate at this point in time. So what you're talking about adding the accounts receivable and accounts payable is essentially doing the same thing as what the modified accrual basis of accounting already does.
Okay.
So is it the balance sheet that's the issue, or is it the income statement that you were?
I'm looking at the statement of financial position comparisons.
Okay.
And there is, okay, total assets, December 31st, 1,157,000. Where on the modified accrual, it's 1,248,000. So that's what it's not. That's what I'm looking at is actuals.
Right.
And
But
that's what I'm more comfortable with for myself personally. But I do want to see what is outstanding. And that's the other thing that I think is important for us to support any, if we know where we're outstanding, what we're missing. And if that's all that can be done is on the modified, yeah, I just.
so if you look at the bank balance, that's that's $1,157,426.83, the total bank account balance. That matches
Okay.
perfectly between the two reports. The only addition is that on the modified accrual basis of accounting, you're also reporting the accounts receivable. And that's what changes your total assets. So you can see the difference between what the cash you actually have is and the amounts you've billed that you haven't yet received. So that's being reported. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. And I guess I'm just concerned about inflated dollars.
So
Inflated.
there is no
That's-
dollar difference between the two basis of accounting. The cash in your bank will be identical with regardless of which report you receive.
Okay.
So I prefer cash too, but likewise, I'd like a little asterisk that says what's coming in, what's going out in the next quarter. But I guess I'm confused what brought about this question. I'm sorry, I missed the last board meeting, but I thought we all voted to go with cash.
So we are going all with cash,
Mhm.
but what we realized, not until last month, was that we were providing you guys your reports in two different formats. So one was the cash basis, one of the ones each month that we were giving you, it was the cash basis. But in the quarterly one, we were still giving you the modified
Oh.
accrual one. So we're trying to clear that up.
Yeah, okay.
And it is possible for us to have, and the reason why that was is just because that was the way that we had already always presented it to everyone.
Okay.
So it is possible for us to have a modified cash basis of accounting, but present the board materials in the modified accrual basis. We just need to have it approved by you all and to include it in our financial management plan so that it's clear and understood.
So here's a question for you. accrual receivables. They're verified to be received.
Yes, that means that we've sent out invoices and we're just waiting to be paid. Yes.
Okay,
So there are no estimations. So in the past, when you guys were like on the full accrual, for example, they would even out your income and expense based on like estimations. So they'd say like, oh, we think this grant will take, you know, a year. It's going to take us a year to use this grant or to earn this grant or whatever. And they would try and break it out on a month by month basis. So there was a lot of estimations involved in reaching the full accrual basis of accounting that you used to be on back in the day. Now that you're on the full cash basis of account or modified cash basis of accounting, we're not doing any of those estimations anymore. So anything that's being reported on this is a bill that's been sent or received. So we either have billed somebody for the accounts receivable or we have received a bill for the accounts payable. So there's no estimations, if that makes you feel any more comfortable.
thank you. It does. It does. Okay.
And yeah, they're equally easy to pull. And to answer, I think somebody originally asked, and I'm not sure I fully followed up and answered this completely. It is definitely possible to pull all of your reports on a cash basis of accounting and throw in your accounts receivable and accounts payable in addition to that. They just won't tie to the rest of your reports. So none of the information that's being reported, that's being shown on your accounts receivable or accounts payable will be included in the rest of the reports, if that makes sense. You can't tie between them because they're a different basis of accounting. But that's absolutely possible if that's what the board feels most comfortable with.
Doesn't sound like we're solid on anything. So Amy, if we do change, what's that gonna require? Just us to make a motion and
Yeah, so there's
it's
two decisions I need made. The first one is just approval of us moving the quarterly report to the month following the end of our fiscal quarter. And then the second one is just approving which format you would like for your board reports. And then the second approval, we will add as, well, right now as an addendum to our financial management plan. And then we are currently working on updating our financial management plan. So that will be reflected in it. And then my goal is to get that to you by the February meeting so that we can approve it and we have one document that is very clear cut of what all the different rules are and how everything is handled.
Can I make
And-
a motion for both of them in one, or do I have to do separate?
Let's do separate to make it
Okay.
easy if that's okay.
All right, Greg, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna, I'll leave it up to our treasurer on, format that you want to see. I'm fine either way. Modified cash is fine by me. It doesn't, I have no preference. So if you guys feel strongly about it, I'll accept whatever you guys want to do.
I'll make the first motion to review the quarterly financial statements the month after the quarter ends. Is that correct? Okay.
Okay, do we have a second?
Yeah, Tamara did.
Oh, okay, thank you, Cameron. Any further discussion on this? Fun subject? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, chair votes aye, that is passed. Now, what's the second one,
motion
Randy?
to adopt modified cash basis for a quarterly report.
So sorry, can I just get a little clarity before we pass a motion? Does everyone want, so it sounds like from what I was hearing, everyone was wanting cash basis, that they felt most comfortable receiving most of the report in a cash basis. But you also are still interested in in getting the information of what's been billed as receivable and also what you've received as payable. Is that true?
Yeah, just like like an asterisk next to,
Yeah, make a potential visual.
yeah,
So if we take this
the
guy
last page.
and then take these two. The AR aging summary and the AP aging summary
Yeah,
and add it to there.
yeah,
So it-
yeah, and it just won't be reflected in all of the subtotal.
just
stuff.
won't always
Yeah.
tie together.
Yeah, yeah. Did you catch that?
I think so, yeah. So you still want the AR summary, the AR aging and the AP aging, but you don't want, you want the rest of the reports on cash basis. Is that?
Right, I believe so.
I do
And-
want to ask, Matt, because I know you do have a strong financial background, if you would please.
I mean, I don't have any background in budgeting, you know, so in terms of like looking at a statement, I'm comfortable with cash, and I think, I mean, having both ways to look at it makes sense, you know, and we can always, you know, change our minds later if we feel the need to, right? I mean, ultimately, but I'm on board with what you're most comfortable with. You've certainly got experience with this, so.
And I second Megan's motion.
Okay, any further discussion?
Greg, do you mind if we redo that statement real quick, just for clarity?
No, I want to make sure Emily's totally confused when we leave.
Yeah, okay, I'll restate the motion, so, I'll make a motion to approve a cash basis statement, quarterly statement with a accounts receivable aging summary and separately an accounts payable aging summary.
And Tamara, you were comfortable seconding that?
Yes, I am.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any contrary
Aye.
minded? Chair votes aye. All right. That was easy. Now we're on to the approval of the rider rules poster that was included in your documents there.
Yes.
That was
So
just a
you all
visual.
received in your materials a memo, but
Wait,
also.
but we're done with Emily, right?
Unless
Okay,
you
we don't
need
want to
me.
keep you any longer than.
No,
We
you're
want you to
fine.
stay with us a long time and not get bored with us, so.
Thank you.
We'll
I
release
appreciate
you.
your guys' time, and I really appreciate the clarity. I'm sorry. I know it seems like kind of maybe insignificant differences, but I think just having like true comparisons that are consistent over time is going to be important for you guys. So I appreciate you taking the time to provide that clarity for us.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you, Emily. Thanks for joining. Okay, so in your board materials, I included the draft bus poster as well as the memo just kind of outlining our intent. In the past, you guys have approved some rider rules, but it's kind of been a long time, and I want to make sure that we have a consistent message in the buses for riders. So I wanted to get this in front of you so you guys could get some reactions to this. And if you feel comfortable approving it so that we can get in the buses sooner rather than later. However, I am also working on a project of just being a lot more clear with our rules for when people are on the bus, but our general policies for strollers, wheelchair securement, et cetera, and the goal is to have all of that to you at the February meeting. Right now I've sent it to our partners at ODOT and WashDOT, and I'm just waiting for feedback on them. And when I receive those, I will put all of that on the website. There might be some tweaks to this poster, but I don't think so. But it'll just depend on some of the feedback we receive. And if we do have tweaks, they will be small. We will wait to spend too much money on printing these on nice materials until we have been able to approve the larger project. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Any questions on that?
Jeff, maybe this is a question for you. Do we have problems with amplified music?
Thank you. Oh my gosh. That was my first thing.
Do you guys have problems with it?
I
Have you-
do as a
you-
driver.
No, but I've been on public transport where somebody's got their speaker and just cranking it out and annoying other people. So I just
Yeah.
think that's a problem that we have, or we should address it with this rules of the road as well.
It's been happening. I haven't, so I was turning it on you because I have not personally gotten any complaints. I know in the past we have had, we've had to put policies in place for our drivers to not use Bluetooth. I think that issue's been resolved, and what I'm hearing now is we're
You
still
mean Bluetooth, like,
Bluetooth speakers on the bus to play music, creating a fun environment for the riders.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, which, yeah, you
Are they not allowed to listen to music at all?
no, they're not supposed to be.
Okay,
The drivers are not.
okay.
But you're saying passengers.
Yeah, passengers, I've had to talk to a couple people. It's just like a common, social norm on transit. And I don't know, it's disintegrated in the past 3 years. I've noticed it. And it's not just us, it's nationwide.
Totally,
Um,
and listen on a ride. other
Yeah,
services.
like people are openly watching Netflix, like, and blasting it. I'm just like, no, I don't want to listen to what you're like, we're supposed to have a clean environment, like it's supposed to not smell and it's supposed to be quiet, like. And it, even like phone calls kind of push it, but I'm like, I'm fine with phone calls.
That's very tolerant.
Yeah.
I personally, I don't prefer, I guess when I was a driver, I would always ask people to turn it off or turn it down, and I'd simply just say it's a distraction to the driver. I think that's the easiest method. Again, I think I wasn't aware that it was a rising issue on our routes, so I can,
It's not just CAD, it's like, I hate to.
It just may be worthwhile.
I don't-
There's stages that just like either missed the social norm, like, it's like typically my parents' generation, or
No,
it's
and,
like, or it's like
Yeah.
very young people.
yeah, please don't be offended. I don't
Yeah.
think we have that issue here, but, oh, my goodness,
Yeah. Yes.
sorry.
So
Yes, yeah,
Probably don't want to put that in the minutes. but
yeah, yeah,
They're loud when they talk on the phone and they,
right.
sorry.
So I think the intent was to include that under be courteous and kind to others. Do you think that we should be more specific on that one?
Yes.
well, I think it's also, some of it's driver discretion, right? Like there's a gray area of how a passenger is behaving and a tolerance, and I think it's important for us to, if we want a specific thing enforced, that our drivers are on the same page for,
Well-
communicating that to passengers. So one driver might be, loud is relative to different people, right? Or somebody maybe grew up in a noisy home, can listen to another phone conversation and still stay focused. There's a lot of variables, I guess is all I'm saying. So I think it's just,
I've seen actual, like this was displayed as icons in Minneapolis's transit instead of text, but one of them was, I forget what the icon was, but it was no amplified music or movies, like, because now people can essentially watch TV shows and movies wherever they go. And I think that's one of the biggest changes, is people are used to watching that stuff in their car when they're in traffic or whatever, that they like.
That's scary.
I know, but yeah, that's why they
Okay.
don't mind sitting in line for in and out for 3 hours.
I did want to give credit to Tim. He actually is the one that created this, and I
Yeah.
thought he did a great job.
Mhm.
We were, just for you guys to understand a little bit of the things that we were debating before we created this, we decided to move away from icons.
Okay.
Just because they can really kind of be construed in different ways. And we wanted to be really clear about some of these issues. I also wanted it to be really clear of when we can refuse service.
Yeah.
Especially with some of the issues that we run into specifically on the Gorge to Mountain bus.
and
think-
some of our other services too, but.
Yeah, no, I think
agencies.
it's great. This courteous one goes in line with the talking on the phone, having phone calls, and then like, but I think there still needs to be no amplified.
Okay, so maybe put
Something.
the no amplified music over here,
Yeah,
and then we can keep the really positive ones, and that was the other thing, we were trying to be like, really take the positive.
And it may just not be
aspect.
music, as you're talking about phone calls and other stuff, no amplified audio device, or there's gotta be a better way to say it.
Noises,
Sound,
we can do some research and
Okay.
look at what other people have done.
Because a lot of times I walk onto a bus with my boom box on my shoulder. You know, that kind of stuff.
no, I was
Now I can.
laughing because I was riding Minneapolis Transit and I was looking at the icons, and right across from me was a guy who was breaking like 6 of the icons, and I was just like, oh my gosh. Like it was vaping, it was eating, amplified music, and there was one other, I can't remember what it was. No, it's just
I think that goes back to my statement about the drivers, right? It's just really, like, the sign's there. I don't think people care that much, or people don't get on the bus and always read everything. And I think it's just, I think it's more so there, so the driver, it's almost like a reinforcement for the driver to be like, look, that's
Yeah.
our policy,
Right.
instead of them feeling like they're just making stuff up because they're a
Yeah.
grumpy person that day or something.
Would
Does
you-
anybody have any concerns with the rest of the stuff that's on there?
I have a question. Would the drivers want to have on their, drivers, or, discretion, drivers enforcement, something like that, so that anybody who is looking at the sign gives the drivers a little bit of support that, yes, they can make this call? Is that necessary or not?
I have seen when I've been looking, well, Jeff, I guess I'll let you answer that, but I will say that I have been, when I've been looking at all the different examples from all across the country, really, I've been looking at small agencies and big agencies and kind of comparing the two. I believe I have seen one where it's like, listen to your driver for safety instructions or something along those lines. So I think we could probably put something like that here at CAT. We strive to listen, something like that, but I don't know, do you think that would be helpful?
Yeah, I think the discretion thing kind of opens, I guess it just depends on what we want to do. We can have hard line rules, right? For the driver to follow, but if you start getting into discretion, each driver's gonna have a different discretion, and then you start being like, well, that driver let me listen to my radio, or
yeah, and
Or
then
maybe, like-
customers are gonna be against each other, and that's the part that drives me crazy. I was like, I'm fine going to tell somebody like, no, turn that off, like nobody wants to hear that. But a lot of people just like boil inside, like, and don't say anything about it.
I would say
Um,
we also need to be a little careful on what we can say, just because for FTA rules too. But I think if we restrict it to safety, like listen to drivers for, okay. Thanks, Greg.
I'm still here,
So
but
we're gonna-
I'm moving to different device because I gotta
Okay.
move around.
Should we transfer over to Megan you're good? Okay, cool.
Not yet. I don't trust her. She can do some crazy things.
Yeah, I think we would want to be kind of specific with the language of have it revolve something along safety or something to that.
Yeah,
That
and
intent.
that's a positive message to
Yeah.
our customers.
correct, and then you can do like serve one passenger on the bus on the phone. Like, that's not a big deal. If there's, when you start adding people, then it becomes a big deal. So that's where discretion comes
Yeah,
in
yeah.
place, but it's tricky stuff.
Yeah, otherwise it's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah, and great
Tim,
look.
Can you add Greg?
Oh, no, don't let him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does,
No, it's such a great thing to clarify, because the whole vaping thing, I really think this is coming after that has really gained popularity, right? Like, we
I
never
believe we
addressed that.
had it on the 2021 ones that were approved. But there was
definitely some opportunity to make sure it's more clear to the riders on the bus.
Yeah. On Twitter, there's a lot of talk of people that are like, I don't want to ride transit anymore because I'm sick of my like daughter having to inhale whatever next to us. Yeah, so this makes it just super clean.
Have you experienced vaping recently on our buses?
No, never
Okay.
on our buses.
Okay, cool.
It's always been on like subways or trains. So,
Greg
Greg,
hopped off and on again.
I wasn't serious about that.
Greg, are you there?
just gotta figure out the star.
Are we on to Jeff's report? Can you guys hear me?
Not Jeff's, we do need a call for a motion.
Okay. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Sound great.
Okay. Can we have a motion on the poster?
I'll make the motion to approve the poster with the discuss changes.
Can I
Okay,
just ask
do we
a
have
question quick? Sorry. Are we waiting for this to be okayed by ODOT and their Washington counterparts before we actually, I mean, is there a point to having this resolution yet, or should we wait?
So these pieces have kind of, or not kind of, these pieces have already been approved by the board at a previous date. So have just taken those and we are putting them in a little bit different format to make sure they're on the bus. The reason why I have kind of pushed this forward to this meeting rather than waiting is with our Gorge to Mountain Express service, we do see an uptick of different rider issues or not following the rules. So I wanted to make sure that it is up there as soon as we possibly could make it to reduce some of the issues that our drivers are experiencing. But just in general, even without the Gorge Mountain Express service, I would love for it to be there. I am not foreseeing a lot of changes to this with the other piece. The other piece, the reason why I'm setting it to ODOT and WashDOT is there's a lot more language, and then it gets into a lot more technical areas with ADA and Title VI compliance. And that's why I want them to review it before I put all of that language on our website. But it would not change the overall intent with this.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? Chair votes aye. All right, poster approved. Now we're on the operations report.
Okay, December 2023 operations report. Safety score is 84. That is down due to increase in harsh events and increase in moderate speeding. I am noticing a downward trend that I need to discuss with my team and figure out how to move in the other direction. Let's see, our fuel cost, fuel cost per mile was 38 cents. We spent 14,508, which is a little bit higher. Gas prices are still slightly, or fuel prices are slightly lower than they have been in the past, a little more expensive than last month. As far as reported incidents, 2 customer complaints, 3 vehicle incidents, 3 customer incidents. The formal complaints, not really a complaint, more of a suggestion, but they go into the same, they got put into the same category. It was just a request for service on Forest Lane and Cascade locks. That is a common request and something that we are considering and trying to figure out how to work that into our, CGE program or have some other service that covers that area, because
Request.
Huh?
What was the request?
to have, so a forest lane stop, somewhere near forest lane or on forest lane, because everybody who uses that can't, there's no way for them to get back to the east side of
Yeah.
Cascade Locks. So yeah, we recognize that gap and are discussing solutions for that.
And it was, I think, addressed in a vague way in the transit master plan. Mostly we have to work with ODOT on it.
Then we had another complaint stating that the driver was using their phone. We pulled video, did not find any evidence of that situation, and just put out a general reminder to our drivers that that's not appropriate. Happened in the past, and if you catch it, it's a automatic write up, unfortunately. Other than that, the vehicle issues, we had a broken mirror that just needed adjusting. Our bus barn issues, we always have fender benders in there. It's just a small, tight space. It's gonna happen. And then we had a fun one where in the lower lot, one of the vehicles got backed into, there's the little medians in there, so what they're called, but they dropped down like 2 feet, and one of the buses got pulled in and dropped down in there. We had to get it towed out, unfortunately. But so since then, we've been using we have a lot up on Tucker Road where we park most of our bigger buses now, to try to keep them out of this lower lot, especially because it's gorgeous mountain season and we need all the parking that we can get. It is a little bit of a hassle. If something breaks down, we have to send somebody 10 minutes up the road and 10 minutes back to get those vehicles switched out. Cool. Passenger customer incidents. There's confrontation over paying a bus fare. I believe that passenger, if I'm remembering correctly, this is the one, I think the passenger was asked to leave the bus because they were getting upset about being confronted about the bus fare, and it turned into like a loud swearing situation, and the driver had asked the passenger to get off the bus.
I think if I'm remembering correctly, they calmed down and was able to use the bus later in the day.
The mixed confrontation class using a lot of profanity on the bus. Oh yeah, so there's another lot of profanity issue on the bus, and thankfully we have a good relationship with TriMet, and that happened down at Gateway, and we were able to get Mike called TriMet security, and they were able to have their security come on our bus and help escort that passenger off. See, there's another one. It was after hours. We had a sorry, I just had like is this valuable information to you guys when I go through each complaint? Okay, cool. There was somebody who came after hours. So we saw a field supervisor on duty, but the doors were locked. They wanted to they were pounding on the glass, wanted to use the bathroom. The driver or the supervisor on duty was hesitant about letting them in. Actually, there was a recommendation from the driver they were feeling empathetic, which is understandable. Let the passenger gave him the bathroom key to go use the bathroom, and then as the field supervisor was closing, they realized they were in there for a really long time. They ended up trashing the bathroom and trashing the just the trash all over.
Oh, that was that one time. Or was there multiple trash throwing overs? Like,
In the
Not,
past couple months, we've had a couple.
my lord.
Yeah.
It's like, it looks like a tornado came through here.
yeah. So anyways, that was that situation, and I think the field supervisor had cleaned it up. There wasn't much action taken for the person. I think they just ended up leaving. It's kind of unfortunate part of working with the public sometimes. Okay, other updates. We started Gorge to Mountain night service. That has been going pretty well. We have been this year, we've been actually scheduling a second driver to go up in the evening on days we aren't running nights, on busy days like Sundays. because we bring up a lot of, everyone goes up the mountain and wants to come home at the same time. So we've been trying to offer a second bus, because on some days, I think our highest ridership, this is actually for January, was like 220 something for a day. And those buses at like 45 people are too full pretty much. So we have to send a second bus in those scenarios. Let's see. Anything else about Georgetown Nights? Not really, other than we had some cancellations this year due to, some of them were due to weather, or they're all due to weather. Some of them were due to Meadows not operating, and then some of them were due to us not operating, which were mostly last week. And just for fill-in, I know we had 1,881 riders on Georgetown Mountain so far in January.
Before we move on, Jeff, I would like to really commend the team for last week. They really did a rocking job with the inclement weather that we experienced, whether it was shoveling our facility, or driving in the inclement weather, or all of the above. And if you haven't already, I do highly encourage you to sign up for text alerts.
That's awesome. Thank you for telling me to do that.
Yeah. We found that that's a really great way to communicate with the public, but I also have lots of employees who have signed up with it as well. Because it's a good way just to keep in the loop on days when they're not working. Yeah.
I think to Amy's point, the communication piece I felt was really strong this year from our team to get the word out to the public on what we were operating and not. It seemed like we had, a lot of phone calls and a lot of questions, but like, I think that I felt like the complaints of like not knowing were pretty minimal. The hard decisions to make when it's to close bus service. So do what we can.
Tamara?
And just to move on, what about, have we had enough time to have any impact from stopping the route, a little loop over to government camp, is it? Has there been any?
I think I've heard one or two complaints
Okay.
that we don't have it.
Recently?
No,
just when
not
we
like a
initially-
month when we initially changed it.
Right.
But I haven't heard much, but the goal is to hopefully do a shuttle bus between
Right.
Meadows and government camp next year.
But overall, everything, I mean, that has helped. I'm just curious, have we noticed an impact in on-time schedules, on coming back and forth?
Yeah,
Has it
so
improved our services, or are we still the same?
totally, we haven't had any issues with our 4 o'clock departure, which is what government camp was causing a lot of issues for those. We've actually designed it this way where the afternoon bus goes up, and actually has like a layover up there, so they're up there earlier than 4. Last year, I think we were actually holding the bus for 10 extra minutes to help load people. Now, because the bus is up there early, we're leaving right on time. Short answer, I do believe that resolved a lot of our late issues. We also, the days that we are chaining up, we are still running late to like, if we run the 8:30 up, the 11 o'clock is usually going to go up late, but that does not impact the 4 o'clock. And if it's getting really late, we've been fortunate enough this year that we have some standby drivers helping that were able to step in and do those runs. So yeah, it's been going pretty well.
Thank you.
So I have 3 quick things. One is like, I've heard really awesome things from middle schoolers and or their parents. They're so excited to take the bus up to the mountain independently too. Like they're all like organizing their own social schedules now because of our bus system, which I think is what middle school life should be all about. And then the second was, is there an ideal time to do the round trip to Teacup?
Ideal time.
And have we communicated, does the Teacup organization know it?
What do you mean? I'm not sure.
Like, I noticed on the schedule that there's some buses that go up to Meadows and immediately turn around and go to Teacup. So if you're on that bus to Meadows, you can get to Teacup fast. There's one bus that you can go up at like 2 to Meadows and it doesn't turn around immediately.
Got it. Yeah, that's the only one that doesn't turn around.
Oh, okay, all
Yeah,
right.
The rest of them should all. Yeah.
Okay.
That's one of the saying there's a layover.
That was a tricky one. I was like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna get on that one, so I'll just be sitting at Meadows for an hour. Or whatever, but.
Great to buy a car.
Yeah, I think just not to get too far in the weeds, but I think for next year, I think I want to figure out a way to schedule so that we actually have 2 buses in the later, like 7 days a week instead of just, I think what nights are 4 days a week instead of just the 4 days a week. So we wouldn't, so there should be, that teacup option. So there shouldn't be a layover, but there should be more buses. We're top loading everything, right? And
Mhm.
there's just not enough service to bring everybody home. So
Yeah.
there might be more options with a teacup then.
And then the third thing quickly is, last week, Thursday was crazy. I know we weren't operating, but my husband came and picked me up. And what I noticed about, I was paying attention to both Trip Check and Google Maps and like the Google Maps traffic layer.
Mhm.
What I found was that Google Maps traffic layer was really off, but it was all based on all the semis that were pulling over and chaining up. And there were like, I mean, the
On
whole
Leeward Express?
medium.
Or
No,
like
it wasn't the
I-84?
I-84. It
Yeah.
wasn't nothing. We weren't operating that day, but like the semis were lining the shoulder, like chaining up. And so that changed the traffic volume on the layer. It showed all red.
For Google?
Yes, but it actually wasn't. We were driving like 45 to 50 miles an hour the entire time. So that's just something to pay attention to. And the other thing is like Trip Check. I watched a semi stuck, like essentially like he was just sitting in Multnomah Falls parking lot at 10 in the morning. And then we went to Multnomah Falls on the way home because I wanted to see the frozen waterfall. And there was like a queue of cars. And there was like that truck was still there. And I'm like, holy cow, these people don't know that truck has been here for 3 hours and there's no way they're gonna get around them. So I like my car by car, tell them they need to back up onto the interstate and get out of there. But like I found Trip Check to be such a great, those cameras specifically are a great way to are you Kevin?
And so typically that's what we use. We use Trip Check, we use NOAA, so the National Weather Service, and then we also look at Tamira's weather service, but we also, use the apps that are on our phone. So we use a myriad of different ones. Google Maps, I think, is helpful during the summer when it is just true data. If it's stopped for whatever reason, that's what it is. But that's I don't think I realized that on the semis. So
Yeah,
that's really
I didn't
good to
know either. I was like, why is it showing red the whole time? And it was just because they were all stopped.
Yeah.
So they must have had their tracking on the Google whatever devices, and yeah, it was distorting. But
That's good enough.
Yeah.
It's the employee.
Heather Mima.
Oh, okay, cool.
Heather, our employee of the month, returned from leave with a great attitude, always smiling despite her challenges. Her passengers appreciate her personable and outgoing nature, often commenting on her kindness. Behind her charming grouchiness, she is a dedicated individual with a heart of gold, making her a source of joy and laughter. Yep.
All right. Greg, do we still have you?
Yes, you do. I'm just on mute because I'm in a bus.
Okay, cool. I think we'll go ahead and maybe transfer over to Megan. Megan, can you maybe carry us through and then?
Okay, so we're on to the executive director's report. So Amy, go ahead.
All right, thank you. So I wanted to give everyone a quick update on the union. This is informational update only. I did receive a demand to bargain request regarding 2 policies that management would like to enact. So one is a work out of class policy, which would temporarily allow lower classified employees to work at a higher classification during leave of absence of employees who have that higher classification. So in interim employee for whether field supervisor or operations manager or office manager or executive director. So that is one thing that we are working with them on that would have a minimal financial impact. It would allow for that lower class employee to get the lowest rate on the pay scale for that higher classification for that temporary amount of period. And they would have to be eligible, meaning they would have to meet certain requirements to be eligible. The other thing is the standby driver policy, which allows the district to have drivers scheduled as standby drivers and included in the driver bid, which just allows us to be more flexible and more dynamic based on what the conditions are, how many people are out, if there's lots of medical leave, whatever may be happening. It allows us to flex a little bit easier. So that I am meeting with them on February 13th. And then once we discuss a little bit more about those policies, I will bring them to the board in February to look for approval or discuss more depending on what how that discussion goes. Any questions? Yes, Matt.
Has there been any update on the Rose Hour stop? And I guess, I mean, it's a corollary with Safeway as well. I know there wasn't anything necessarily there, but do we, you know, are we working towards a solution there?
So I have, with the Rosar stop, I have met with the city staff, Public Works, who are working with me on the different bus stops. And we have a plan of action. I'm gonna go back to the landlord and ask for some additional things and see what we can figure out. But also, I have reached out to ODOT and just need to continue to push the needle to see what we can do to get an in-lane stop on 13th. So my kind of short-term plan is to work with the landlord to do medium to small improvements of that stop. So we can increase accessibility and maybe have a little bench and make sure there's a permanent stop.
I mean, the new stuff.
The 12th and Pacific, the Walgreens one.
Yeah.
Just kind of improve that.
Okay.
And then really focus on the 13th in-lane stop to really build that out and to have that as to have maybe a bus shelter, have some other amenities. So that's how I'm focusing on that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I might need some help with just some application for those two things. The next thing is the 2024 Gorge Pass sales. So as you all know, we have fully transitioned over to the Gorge Pass, where it's good for a full calendar year based on when it was purchased. We now that we are in 2024, all of the passes out there, they will expire. Either they are on that new program. We have seen a large uptick of sales and year-over-year increase in the physical passes. And I also assume that we're going to see by the end of January 2024, we will see an increase in our digital passes as well. Just as this point in time, if you're just looking at January, there's not quite as much of a difference. So I've pulled the numbers. In January 2023, we sold 187 physical passes. So that's about $5,000 in revenue. This year, so far, we have sold about 319 physical passes.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Wow. Good job.
And a large amount of that is because we've really grown our Gorge Transit Connect partner program, where local partner agencies are buying some discounted
Oh,
passes
cool.
for their clients. And so that is about a $6,360 revenue. And that's kind of why there's not as big of a gap in the dollar amount as there is the pass number amount. So in January 2023, we sold 377 digital passes. That's about just under $13,000 in revenue. And then in January 2024, we have sold 321 digital passes. So that's about $11,300 in revenue. So,
Along those same lines, have the board been issued their passes yet?
yes. So
Okay,
they
I
have, I sent you a digital one. Did you not get it? Okay.
Text.
It would have been in your email.
I didn't.
I needed to make sure that I could get which email. Before you guys leave, let's make sure you have it.
Get this back now. Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, that was a temporary one that I needed last week to.
And Matt, you should, or if you would like to get passes for yourself, let us know if you already been in contact with Tim.
I'll email to him. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so before you guys leave, let's make sure you guys get all those figured out. Any questions about that? Okay, that's it for me.
Right, so moving on to upcoming events, are there any events or news the board would like to, the board would like to share? Well, I have really quick, bit of news. I'll be applying for about 7 Safe Routes to School grants over the next 2 months. One is to fund the coordinator position for another 2 years. There's going to be 4 county grants, one for Parkdale and some planning grants for Cascade Locks, Odell, and a combination of West Side and high school. So those are to do Safe Routes to School specific grants for each of those little geographic areas. And then I'm meeting with the city tomorrow to talk about essentially a construction grant, an infrastructure grant to do the demonstration project as permanent. But then the one that really, I think, because you just mentioned it, is we'll be doing an engineering grant for Pacific. So CAD will definitely be a stakeholder in that design. Hopefully, this is all pending the city saying, yay, go ahead, and maybe we'll win it. So, yeah.
Let us know, let me know how I can help with support letters and all that.
Yes.
We are, so the meeting I talked about with the city, we did discuss bus stops and kind of my plan. We have identified 3 that we want to move forward with in short term. But then there's a couple of stops that I put on their radar that we would like to discuss a little bit more. And one of them is the Aquatic Center stop and potentially moving that from 18th and moving it actually to on May, so it's an inline stop.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
that's awesome. The lavender garden.
Yeah.
Lavender curb.
Yeah. And then that ties into when we're looking at the Heights streetscape, the bus stops would be on 13th.
Yes.
And so that would make things a lot smoother.
Yes.
So just so
then
you know that.
Awesome. And then I also got, it's not public yet. I'm waiting for the feds to tell me, but I wrote a grant that ODOT applied for, was the Governor's Highway Association, Safety Association. It's not big, but we were probably one of 5 communities to win it, and federally, but it's $25,000 to create an after-school club in Odell, but also create a crosswalk. The first ever crosswalk in Odell, so it'll help connect Mud Alley, that neighborhood, over to the school, but it'll be, I think, good for transit as well.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would be really good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Anybody else? No?
I think one thing that I would, sorry, was there anybody else who wanted to add discussion items? One thing that I realized that I missed, just an update for you all, is I did give a update on how I'm working with the local taxis to the city council on Monday night, and just kind of the progress of the task force that they asked me to help coordinate. And so basically we're really moving forward of just marketing of what we can do to help promote local transportation options in one spot. So that include transit and also taxis.
So like curb management.
One of the things that we did ask the city council for is just a taxi stand in downtown core. So there's a designated stop that people could go to, but also just in general, how to just easy things that we could do to kind of get the word out of, make sure people know that there's several transportation options right now, so people can access. I was originally kind of holding off on a lot of marketing because I was waiting for the ODOT grant reduction in.
Yep, carbon reduction.
Yeah,
Sorry.
reduction in inebriated.
Oh,
Driving.
yes, yeah.
Um,
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah. So the taxi voucher program that we received, well, we've been approved, but we're still finalizing. We're still waiting on some things from ODOT to get that finalized. And because I have not had that finalized yet, I have been waiting on some of them. Impaired, yes, thank you.
Took me a while.
So just so you guys know as well.
Cool. In the carbon reduction grant, we're still
Holding
waiting.
pattern.
Okay. Yeah, there's some excited people about that. So. Anybody else? No? Well, I guess we can adjourn early if I get a motion.
So move.
Second? Anybody?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi, Megan. Oh, well, I guess chair votes aye.
I think we saw that was a thumbs up from Megan
Okay. All right, well, chair votes aye. We are adjourned.
Okay.
at 5:18. And also for the record, if we could let Megan in again, just so she can verbally.
Hi, Megan.
Sorry, I vote aye. Every time I actually hung up when I tried to unmute myself. So sorry.
No problem. Thank you for your vote. We are adjourned.
Oh, okay. I vote aye on that too.
No, that's good.
And then just for the record, Greg took off at 5 o'clock and over the chair responsibilities. Okay.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
The other two are out there.
Tim, if you could end the.
Everybody signed off.